power. Protection of human rights is a pathway to a more humane and just society. Our Constitution, which is the supreme law of our country, guarantees equality. Section 9(2) says, equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms, quote unquote. To promote the achievement of equality, legislative and other measures designed to protect or advance persons or categories of persons disadvantaged by unfair discrimination may be taken. Constitutional protections extend to unfairly discriminating directly or indirectly against anyone on one or more grounds, including race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnic or social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, language, or birth. The Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act of 2000, which binds the state and all persons, enjoins us to promote equality and eliminate unfair discrimination, to prevent and prohibit hate speech and harassment, particularly on the grounds of race, gender, and disability. The Prohibition of Hate Speech Clause, Section 10 says, quote, no person may publish, propagate, advocate, or communicate words based on one or more of the prohibited grounds against any person that could reasonably be construed to demonstrate a clear intention to A, be hateful, B, be harmful or to incite harm, C, or promote or propagate hatred. Close quote. This brings me to the principal legislation of my department, the Immigration 2, which also prohibits admission of foreigners likely to promote hate speech or advocate social violence. Further, over 60,000 petitions were collected and presented by Gay Radio South Africa to the department and the South African Human Rights Commission, pleading for the protection of rights of the LGBTI. The department considers carefully the merits of this matter and our and legislation. We have a duty to prevent harm and hatred in all forms against the LGBTI as against any other person in a democratic state. Developments since rumors of Anderson's exploration to the south have painted a scenario of one individual and his like-minded associates bent on callously negating and violating equality, dignity, and other rights of LGBTI persons. A scenario of one unwilling to respect our constitutional protections against hatred and discrimination. Coming therefore to our decision, Stephen Anderson and members and or associates of his church are prohibited from entering the Republic of South Africa. This prohibition will be implemented in terms of Section 29(1)(d) of the Immigration Act. This section affords the department the legal means to prohibit a foreigner who is a member of or adherent to an association or organization advocating the practice of racial hate or social violence, close quote. I have informed the Director General that I have identified Stephen Anderson and members and or associates of his church as undesirable persons. Undesirable persons are barred from traveling to South Africa for periods determined by the department. Furthermore, I have withdrawn their visa exemption status enjoyed by all Americans. This is on the basis that I am certain they promote hate speech as well as advocate social violence. Accordingly, Stephen Anderson will be advised that he is a prohibited person in South Africa. These interventions will not be the panacea to our social shortcomings of prejudice and discrimination. They will, however, provide us an opportunity to learn, or better yet, unlearn our own bigoted views and hateful beliefs. South Africa has its own mending to do. We do not need more hatred advocated to our people. This matter points sharply to the need for more advocacy, sensitization, and awareness raising on gender identity, sexual orientation, and on other discriminatory social hatreds. Constitutional and legislative guarantees are in place, but must be respected by all, including the rights of LGBTI persons. We must continue this conversation and ensure it serves to shape and refine our relations as compatriots. The implementation of the Constitution is not exclusively the responsibility of government alone. We must move from our hateful isolations and undertake to expand our moral obligations. In final analysis, a society we would like to see is one premised on our Constitution and the rest of our progressive legislation. A democratic society that is united in its diversity, marked by human relations that are caring and compassionate, guided by the principles of equality, equity, social progress, justice, human dignity, and freedom. I thank you. Now, I would like, before I take questions, to invite either Mr. Kuhn or Hendrik to make some remarks. Thank you.
Gay SA Radio is Africa's only online LGBTI radio station, and its mission is to give a voice to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex or LGBTI minority group, with a vision to break down barriers, to counteract homophobia by providing information, and to empower the LGBTI population not only locally but also in Africa and the rest of the world. When I became part of Gay SA Radio just a few short months ago, at the beginning of this year, I did not know that we would be tested so soon and so vigorously. It was one of our listeners who first made me aware of Mr. Anderson and his group's impending visit, and I realized something had to be done, and it had to be done quickly. The past 2 months have been a humbling experience, with so many people pulling together to make it possible to keep hate out of our beautiful country. Discrimination comes in many shapes and forms, and as South Africans, we all know too well the consequences of hate and intolerance. Yes, we've come a long way since the dark days of apartheid. We certainly still have a long way to go, but we have made tremendous progress during the past 20 years. Our Constitution is the most progressive in the world, and we cherish and defend the values that is enshrined in it. Now, our society is by no means perfect, and we still have a lot of work to do, like the Minister said. But the decision taken by the Honourable Minister today is, however, a giant step forward, sending a clear message to the world that we will not encourage hate, bigotry and intolerance disguised in any form. As South Africans, we are proud that our government has today sent a strong message to its citizens and the rest of the world, namely that LGBTI people are as much South Africans as anybody else, that we are deserving of the same rights and respect as everybody else. When push comes to shove, we stand together as a nation and do what is right. And I cannot tell you how encouraging that is, sir. Today we took a giant leap forward. By denying this group of people who have nothing but hate towards the LGBTI community a foothold in this country, we are the shining example that the world will not come to an end when two people of the same sex love each other, when they marry, when they have children and live their lives like normal people. Today we celebrate the fact that we are as valued as every other sector of our society, as deserving of love and respect, appreciated for playing a valuable role in building our society, contributing to our country. And most importantly, to know that we are protected. We vow to stay vigilant and to campaign against others who may want to follow in this group's footsteps. I'd like to take a moment to thank all the Gay SA Radio listeners and supporters who have worked tirelessly on this matter. Thank you for the support, the encouragement and the information that you've supplied. We owe a big debt of gratitude to Koenraad Kukuk and his team, especially Johan Barkhuizen. Special thanks to our allies in the UK and the US. AllOut.org played a major role in helping us get the petition worldwide attention, and we wish to thank everybody who signed in support. I'd like to thank Minister Gigaba and his team, or as we now fondly call him, Mr. Gigaba, for taking this matter seriously and for coming to the right decision that is in the best interest of South Africa. You, sir, have made an important statement here today, one that we will not forget. We pledge to help and support you in your mission to sensitize your staff to LGBTI issues so that your department can provide an even better service to members of the LGBT community. You, sir, have given us hope. And to the local enablers of hate, the people who have invited this group, who have cheered them on and who echo their message, your hatred has not gone unnoticed, but it has been ineffective. You should hang your heads in shame today. And you should take a long and hard look at yourselves and the way you try to make other people, people that are different to yourself, less than human. We urge you to start a conversation, to put aside your fears and prejudice, and to find the truth that we are all the same, no matter who we love. And just a side note, Gay SA Radio stands in solidarity with Legabibo in Botswana, where this US hate group is opening a branch. We support you, our brothers and sisters, and we will help you wherever we can. Let our struggle be an example to you, and may you fight the good fight and also win. And we urge the government of Botswana to protect their LGBTI citizens' rights and take the action required to stop hate from also spreading in that country. Gay SA Radio is serious about making a real difference in our community. We are just a baby. We haven't even launched yet. That's only happening on the 1st of October. And this campaign was just the first, and I'm sure there'll be many more in future that will continue to break down the barriers. But we have proven that we are serious about making a difference. We now also, and I'm a radio station, I'm sorry I have to do this, we now also ask our community and our allies to support us by listening online to our station, to use the platform as your voice, to advertise your business and service with us, and to speak together as one. And finally, we hereby declare the 13th of September as Rainbow Day, a day to be celebrated annually as a victory for LGBTI rights in South Africa. I'm from Gay SA Radio, where you are family. I thank you.
Minister of Chair is on briefing, so I haven't been fired.
So you know the drill. You even though I know you, you must still introduce yourself. Unfortunately, because I'm chairing, I will have to answer each question as it comes. So I'm not going to take a list of questions. I will have to answer the question as it comes. Pretoria, we also see you. So you are also welcome to participate in the question and answer session. Thank you.
Minister Gigaba, Donald Presley from Cape Messenger and Business News. I just wanted to know how you came to a different conclusion from your earlier arguments that the Immigration Act could not provide you with a legal basis to bar Pastor Anderson. And I see that you've mentioned hate speech. I suppose that is the answer. Also, did you take particular offense at being called a sodomite?
Thank you very much, Donald. Somehow I expected the second question, but we will answer it. No, earlier on, I did not say it doesn't, the Immigration Act doesn't empower me. I said I need to look at all the facts before us so that we can make the necessary determination. In a subsequent meeting with Kunrad and Hendrik, was it last week or early this week? Last week, Monday, we said that new facts have been brought before us. There is a dossier that we were awaiting. As soon as it was submitted to us, we were then going to consider it extensively and make a determination. We worked throughout the weekend to look at that dossier that was presented to us. In the dossier, As I say, I've used mainly Section 29(1)(d) of the Immigration Act, which says that the Minister of Home Affairs may declare somebody a prohibited person if that person belongs to an organization and or association that advocates racial hate or social violence. We have looked at this organization, this Baptist church to which Stephen Anderson belongs, and we considered that this organization had already been declared as such an organization in the United States, and therefore we were standing on solid grounds to take the decision that we have ultimately taken. And so our legal department engaged in an extensive review of the dossier presented to us against both the provisions of our Constitution and the Immigration Act. The gentleman makes very disparaging remarks. He's a Holocaust denialist. He makes disparaging remarks against women and sometimes recklessly advocates for them to be killed. He makes disparaging remarks about Africans. He makes disparaging remarks about his own, the President of the United States of America. He makes disparaging remarks about Muslims, about basically everything. And as Kunrad keeps reminding me, the only person who can survive this man's wrath is somebody who is a white male Baptist church member. So if you are just white male and don't belong to the Baptist church, you are a recipient of his wrath. If you are female, if you are any other person outside this narrow definition, you are a recipient of his wrath. When 50 people were killed at a nightclub, yes, his statement was that it's at least 50 people off the streets. They were sodomites. They were going to die either of AIDS or syphilis anyway, and they deserved to die. That's the type of person who can't come and preach anything consistent with the South African Constitution and the values contained in that Constitution. We've considered all of these facts and asked ourselves the question, should such a person or could such a person make a positive contribution to South African society? And certainly we're of the view that there is nothing positive is going to contribute. We are a 22-year-old democracy. We are trying to foster certain values in our society, and he is going to negate those values. I think those who had invited him have very tough questions to ask themselves. And perhaps since they may not take the liberty to ask themselves those tough questions, we as a society must ask them those tough questions. As to what exactly did they intend achieving by inviting such a person? Quite clearly in our society we have people who share the views of this person, and so they took the liberty to invite him to our country. We have considered the facts before us from a legal standpoint and taken the view that we must not allow him here. We also, as I have said in the statement, withdrawn his visa exemptions. He will now require a visa to come to South Africa, and he must apply for it. And the only basis to consider whether he will get it or not in the future will be whether he has repented publicly from such views. And so his views about me don't matter. Actually, the name Gigaba sounds quite funky. It could even be a jive. I suspect that if I was going to make a jive called a Gigaba. But his views about whether I'm a sodomite really can't annoy me, because I know for a fact that I am not. And being insulted by him is like throwing water at a duck. just shake it off and carry on swimming. Thank you. There was a second question, yes, ma'am.
Morning, Minister. Andisiwe Makinana from City Press. Minister, you've partly covered the one question I wanted to ask you. It's on the people that invited him. I don't know if it's that he falls under your question. What is to be done? Because they shared the views. They were on TV saying, we agree with him. So is there anything that, I don't know, any department that you could refer them to? Because, you know, it's the same issues, hate speech that they are promoting. Secondly, you speak about Stephen Anderson and his associates. Who are we talking about? Are those members of his church? Who are these other people that have banned or barred along with him? And thirdly, you say that section of the Act, okay, they are barred for a period that could be determined by the department. For how long are they barred? Thanks.
Thank you. I think the South African Human Rights Commission, the Equality Court, I suppose that the different sectors of South African society must take issue with the people who invited this person, because it obviously doesn't fall within the purview of the Department of Home Affairs. I am quite happy that eminent South Africans, including Archbishop Njongunkulu Ndungane of the Anglican Church, have made very strong statements to call on us to act in the way we have done, and have expressed support for the strong views that and exception that we have taken with regard to this person since his intended visit was announced. So I would expect that Gay Radio South Africa, different LGBTI organizations, and other democratic South Africans would take issues with this person at the Human Rights, with the people who are inviting this person at the Human Rights Commission, the Equality Court, and other relevant institutions, so that we are able to deal with matters of this nature. We are calling on South Africans to engage in a discussion around issues of diversity and the injunction of the Constitution that we must unite regardless of our diversity. That is why, as the department, we've taken further steps. Actually, before this matter arose, we had already met with different LGBTI organizations to review the last 10 years of the Civil Union Act to determine whether there are any improvements that are required. Last week I had a conversation with the Deputy Minister of Justice, Mr. John Jeffries, who indicated to me that they also are meeting with LGBTI organizations to look at different parts of the legislation, particularly that legislation which deals with gender realignment, so that they can see whether there are any changes that are required there, how to improve the legislation and the rights of LGBTI persons. And so you are seeing a movement across government to address and affirm the rights of all South Africans, regardless of their sexual orientation, and it's something that should be commendable. This guy was coming to South Africa with 17 people. He had a 17-party that was accompanying him. Those people are banned from coming to South Africa. Their exemptions are also withdrawn, together with Stephen Anderson. And anybody else who belongs to that church, should we know about them, we will hit them with exactly the same ban, because according to 29(1)(d), they belong to an organization and or association that advocates racial hatred and or social violence. And on that basis, they are not allowed to come to South Africa for purposes of spreading their malicious whatever message. How long are they going to be barred? We have not made a determination. I have advised the Director General that I have made this decision, and therefore he will impose the necessary timelines. But obviously, the 29(1) doesn't say we must define a period of prohibiting a person who belongs to an organization or association that advocates for racial hatred and social violence. In that case, we are not obliged to impose a deadline. It is as long as they still belong to that organization. Thank you. I'll just take this row and come to the row behind. Thank you. And Pretoria, we are coming.
Thank you, Mr. From Business Day. Just wanted to find out when, if you can indicate when Mr. Anderson will be given the notice of this advisory that he is now banned. And then just to ride over my colleague's question on the people that invited him in South Africa, looking at the situation where the branch may very well be established, where his presence has been called for there as well. What the South African government would be prepared to do in that respect, keeping in mind, and maybe that is a question for international relations and cooperation, but also keeping in mind that South Africa does revere other countries' autonomy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kulegani. The DG is going to act promptly. I don't know how quickly is that process going to take place. We've covered all the ground because we know that he could claim that he did not receive the notification, and that's why he made his way here. But to remove the exemption doesn't require us to notify him. When we are going to notify all the airlines, so that at any stage he goes to any airline to board to South Africa, he will be informed that, say, you now require a visa to get to South Africa, your exemptions particularly have been withdrawn, and therefore we've tried to cover all the ground to ensure that he doesn't find himself here. Should, of course, he find himself at any of our ports of entry, we will detain and deport him, because the decision has been made. It doesn't depend on him receiving that prior notification. We don't want him in this country. We will detain and deport him. We will inform him at that moment when we detain him, and that you are no longer allowed to enter South Africa. Leave. So there is no way, unless he can enter the country as an animal or as a plant or some air, there is no way he's going to escape the immigration officer. I think it behoves the different organizations. Obviously, we are going to brief our cabinet colleagues on this decision, but it also behoves the different organizations to lobby enough to engage with DERCO, to engage with our colleagues also in other countries, not in Botswana, to be sensitized of this issue. The problem is that we keep quiet. The mistake we will make about Stephen Anderson is to pretend that he is only a homophobe. But that's not what he is solely. He also denies the Holocaust. He also advocates for violence against women. He denigrates Africans, the same Africans who were going to host him, to whose country he was coming, who are going to give him space to establish his church. He denigrates them. So it's a person generally who is anti-human. And I think we do need to indicate that what this person is not solely a homophobe, because if we confine him to homophobia, we will then blindly shut our eyes to his other transgressions, and permit him to continue spreading messages which at the end of the day demean all humanity. So it's beyond the Department of Home Affairs. I think the rest of our society should engage with the matter and find ways to engage our colleagues and neighbors elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Lester from eNCA. Mr. Anderson wouldn't be the first, and I don't think definitely would be the last sort of missionary or religious group to come in and visit South Africa with or without sort of advertising their presence. There may very well be religious and missionary groups in South Africa from outside of our borders who already spread a hateful rhetoric. How do you then... Is there then, based on this decision, is there then a means of identifying immigration officials, notifying about a certain group spreading a hateful rhetoric, and then leaving up to the immigration officials to act on that based on this decision you've made today?
Thank you. I think you are raising a very pertinent question, because surely the Department of Home Affairs would not have known that this person was coming unless the activist organization stood up and notified us, and went through the trouble of collecting signatures from different people, which highlighted the importance of the matter. I must say to you that it's been an interesting journey, even for us, because last week we were on the verge of saying, no, we're not going to ban this guy, but should he come here and make these offensive remarks, we would notify him that should he come and make these offensive remarks, then he will be deported. But when this dossier came and we checked it against the Immigration Act, we then changed our minds and said, no, let's review the matter. And then after reviewing the dossier, checking through the Constitution and the Immigration Act, we arrived at this determination. So the point I'm making is that should there be other people who already are here, so distinguishing between those from outside the country who may either already be here or may still be intending to come, it would be important to notify us, because in a way this sets a precedent. But should there be people who are South Africans, then I think that the different activist organizations in the country, it's not an issue for LGBTI persons alone. It's an issue for all of us. That's why I was happy to receive messages from Archbishop Ndungane and other religious leaders, because it said that there are many South Africans who believe that we cannot allow an affront of this nature to take place on our shores with us turning a blind eye to it. So if there are any South Africans who are of the same view, and there are, we can mention a few by name, but I don't think it would be wise for me to do that. I think that some legal steps and social campaigns must be taken against those individuals. Some of them don't even run churches, they run online churches. And yet they spread this diatribe. So we need to mobilize society to be able to bring those issues up, take those people to Equality Court, take them to the Human Rights Commission. I'm happy that the Human Rights Commission also stood up and came to us and said, look, can you deal with this matter? So we are on good ground.
Sorry, so just some clarity. So if it is a foreign organization who's come here on some sort of missionary or religious work, and they're already sort of there to be evidence of them spreading some sort of rhetoric, if they are foreign nationals who have come to do missionary work in South Africa, we can then report that
Yes.
to the Department of Home Affairs and Immigration officials.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Lukhanya Kalata from the SABC. So if I could maybe just confine it to the issue of the LGBTI community. One of the things that was said, I think, Mr. Hendrick, was that today essentially was a message that was being sent out to the world, about South Africa's protection of its LGBTI community. But we're not just South Africans, we're Africans also. And one of the major issues that we deal with on the continent is discrimination of the LGBTI community. Particularly, we know that, I think in Uganda, there's quite a lot that goes on against this community. Now essentially that we've started with this message, what can the government do, I think, as a whole, to try and spread awareness about the protection of rights of the LGBTI, not just obviously in South Africa, but particularly on the continent and with specific reference to Uganda. Going forward, now that this first step has been taken, how do you then roll it out and make sure that we protect everybody on the continent that are gender non-conformists? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lukhanya. You will appreciate that some of the questions can better be answered by colleagues, because my duty is to deal with what happens within the national territory of South Africa. Organizations are issues relating to